I'll call the meeting to order just so we can get going. I think Shep was going to join us too, but I don't know what happened to him. Shep did send over a copy of the minutes to everyone by email just like half an hour ago. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at it.
I just got them.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hold off on that.
Okay.
Hello, Chris.
He's
Can
not
you hear us?
here yet.
Chris, you need to connect to audio. Of course, if you can't hear me say that, I guess that doesn't matter. I need a little sign.
Call and use.
Oh, there's Shep now. Okay. All right, the meeting's been called to order. Shep, I think we're going to wait on the minutes only because people didn't get them in time to review. So we'll do that next time.
Hello.
Hi, Shep.
Hi, is that Shep?
Hi, I can't see you, but you can see me.
Yes, we can.
I can't see anyone.
Okay. So
Shep, you have to
guess-
touch the screen and then the upper left, go to Galaxy View or Gallery View.
yes,
You can see everybody.
you should be able to, unless you're calling in on a phone, in which case you can't.
This is true. That'd be me.
Shall we just go over the proposal from
Yep.
Construct?
Sure.
I think there's a couple of things that yes, I suppose we should. This is Fred. And then we can talk about it, I guess.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions, first of all?
Yeah, this is a discrepancy
Yes.
because it talks about applying for $45,000, but the
Yes.
budget adds up to
I'm sorry. I corrected
Yeah.
that, but I apologize if I sent the wrong version out.
That's okay. The budget actually adds up correctly.
The budget adds to 35,000.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So
Oh, so we're not doing 45,000, we're doing 35,000.
That's
correct.
the request, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I apologize. I don't know what's going through my head these days.
Yes, lots of
So-
things, no doubt.
I'd like to get a little bit of, this is Fred, I'd like to get a little bit of background onto the origin of this and to talk about whether this is the charge that our group is supposedly implementing, and how does it relate to that? So maybe Jane or June could talk about that a little bit.
Sure, or I'd invite Chris to respond to that as well. Tim Geller from the CDCSB actually is the person who initiated the idea and pulled together folks from Great Barrington and then also a group from Lenox to look at this because guidance was shown that the CPA funds can be used for rental assistance under these circumstances. And so we got together, started to talk about it. And this proposal seemed to make sense based on the amount that was available in the unrestricted for the Affordable Housing Trust in Great Barrington. And to be able to recognize that one of the great things about this, because it's CPA funds, is we can help people up to 100% of area median income. And we've got a lot of folks, I think, who are going to need that kind of help who have never been in that position before. I know we've talked to all of our tenants. Most of them feel like they're okay for April, but after that, many of them have no idea. And we've talked to landlords who are equally concerned. So our goal with this is really as much to keep tenants current with their rent or as current as they can be with their rent, as well as to keep landlords solvent. Many of them depend on the rental income to keep the maintenance up, to keep the utilities on, all of those kind of things. And mortgage forbearance is great, but it doesn't cover those things. So as much as anything, it's really to keep as much solvency in our community as we can.
And also you're planning to use whatever other funds are available before you
Absolutely.
start using the CPP.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of questions about the federal funds that are going to come down, how that's going to work, how soon they're going to get here, all of that kind of thing. But absolutely, we're going to use federal and state funds before using local funds, for sure. And it's also, we're requesting this on a reimbursement basis. So we will be billing you for what we've actually used, not accepting a lump sum and then you doling it out as it needs to be used. So then you get to keep as much in your coffers as you can while meeting the need in your own town. Hopefully. We don't know if it's going to meet the need.
I basically want to talk to the trust about the bigger picture of what we're supposed to be doing and what goals we need long term. You know, I realize that this is an unusual time. None of us have ever lived through anything like this. But we have a goal that is more of a long-term goal to create affordable housing in various, you know, methods and approaches to increase the housing stock, to keep people in their houses, which certainly this falls under, and to allow people to maintain a reasonable life here in town. But as you may know, many people have asked for this money. It seems like there's, in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of desire to spend this money. And once it's spent, it's gone. We don't have it again. What I'm concerned about is other needs that we have down the line. If we do develop the Alden site property, or if we do some other projects with Habitat, are we going to have a situation where we need some incidental money to pay for engineering, to pay for a perk test, to pay for any other kinds of things, and have no source to go back and get it? I definitely support this. I definitely think that it falls within the sphere of the trust, but you know, somebody's got to say, this is the only money we have, and you know, once it's gone, it's gone. So
I have to echo that myself. I kind of agree with Fred on that aspect. I'm concerned about. I wasn't, when you said reimbursement, Jane, you mean you're actually talking about paying us back the money you borrow or we lend you or whatever?
No, we would if you approved the 35,000, then we would bill you as we use it. So we would front the money to folks in Great Barrington on a monthly basis, give the town an invoice, and then be reimbursed for the expense that we've already taken on. That's how most of our rental assistance works. We do that with state and federal funds that way, and then there's a greater accountability to the government agency, in this case to the town of Great Barrington.
Can someone remind me where we got this? This money would come from our $50,000 stockpile, correct?
That's
Right,
correct.
that was unrestricted, of which we have spent some money on the Alden property already,
Mm-hmm.
a little over 10,000. So we have, I believe, 39,500. So this would leave us about $4,500 in that pot.
And this is not money that we got from the CDC?
It is CPC money that we got, but it was Chris Rembold very nicely put a request in to fund the trust when we first started.
Right, okay. So it's not money we can get more of in a year or 2 years?
Well, it is. We could reapply for whatever we wanted from CPC next year.
And is there a good likelihood that we could get some of it reimbursed? Like even 20 grand?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure how that would work, because it's really aimed at making sure folks who are out of work and who are not able to pay their rent are able to pay their rent. Now, if all of a sudden one of those tenants or a landlord got some money, you know, we're definitely looking at ways that if they don't need it, to be reimbursed, and if we got reimbursed, we'd reimburse you. So it's possible. I'm not exactly sure how it would work.
I think for this program, we basically are going to consider that it's not a reimbursable. Once the money's paid out on a valid claim, it's out there.
It's gone.
I think, Larissa, what you were saying is reimbursed might be from the CPC
Yeah.
next year.
Yes.
And that's definitely a possibility, but you know,
It's not a guarantee.
No.
yeah,
It's
no,
not
I mean, I
guaranteed.
think they'll look favorably if we have a successful program. That's one of the themes that they've talked about before. What have you done before with the money we've already given you?
Right.
So, you know, there is that consideration.
Larissa, there's also the possibility, I guess, that if there ever is a town meeting again,
Huh.
we could, Bill and I have talked about this. There's a possibility of going back to the CPC and asking them to free up some of the 170,000 so that we can use it for purposes like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we have to go back, and we've talked to Tom Levold about it. But and to Chris, but we would have to go back. We'd have to get the CPC's permission first, and then we'd have to go back to the town meeting to have that approved.
Right.
Was Tom supportive of that?
Was the town supportive of it?
Was Tom supportive of your
Yes, he was.
idea?
Was Tom supportive? Yes, yes, he was.
I would feel much better about that if we could do that than this unrestricted money.
But wait a minute.
No, we can't do that this year.
No, we can't. The issue now, though, is using the unrestricted money. I mean, we have to go back to the CPC, and we have to get approval. Assuming they approve it, we then have to go to a town meeting, and who knows when there's going to be a town meeting again.
Right.
Right.
The only money we can access right now is from that unrestricted fund of what was 50,000, which is about 40,000.
But let's not talk about giving up the down payment assistance, because if we do move ahead on the Alden property with Habitat, all of that money will basically go into that project because all those people will need down payment assistance.
Well, Jonathan, the question is, that is one of the issues, but the question is, do we need all of the 170? But it's really academic right now anyway.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a moot point.
It's a moot point right now. All we're talking about is the 35,000 now.
And I do share Fred's concern that there will be incidental engineering studies or something that we may need going forward that we'll have no money for.
Yeah, I share that concern as well.
We're going to be looking for grant money for those things. And there is grant money available for the engineering as well.
Yeah, but those things happen on a much different timeline than having emergency funds.
Yes, we're not going to be having that timeline happening very soon.
Right.
So I have a question. In reading the emergency rental guidelines that were distributed by MHP, one of the things they suggest that housing trusts look at is having a time limit on the program. You know, none of us knows where this whole thing's going to go. I would feel much better if we could say, you know, we'll give you this portion here, would come back to us, you know, rather than have an open-ended checkbook to go forward with. I understand that it's a reimbursable program, that it's a draw program, that you're only going to take the money as you need to apply it. But I personally would feel much better if we had a check-in in 2 months to see if we still wanted to support this rather than an open-ended program.
You know, Fred, that's a really good point. And the folks at Lennox, we met with the Lennox Affordable Housing Trust last night, and that was a question that they had. June, I'm going to put you on the spot. I know you had done some of the homework on how many rentals were in Lennox, and I have not done that homework. I don't know if you've got that, because that may give us a better sense of how many folks might be applying for this, because it definitely is guesswork.
So you mean in Great Barrington?
Yeah.
Right. So I did crunch some numbers, and you can do the same if you go to MHP's Datatown site and look up, just put in Great Barrington. 33.7% of your population are renters, so 954 households, renter households. And of those, you probably would not be considering seniors age 65 and up, because the relationship between Social Security and the rent is not going to change. So if they're collecting Social Security, they're probably not going to be seeking assistance. We are not, I just want to clarify, we are not going to be addressing arrears. We're simply talking to people about the rent payments since COVID. So since April 1st, we wouldn't start addressing payments until May 1st. But so 32% of your population is 65 and up. If you apply that to your renter population, which, you know, that's a guess, not sure. So we're assuming that you're going to have about 130 households that may be affected. Now, in Great Barrington, more so than in Lenox, there's a lot of other entities that have subsidized housing. So Berkshire Housing, Construct, Great Barrington Housing Authority, and the CDC all have properties. So they make up a huge portion of those renters. And many of those, like I know in our case, 42% of our renters have subsidies. Now those subsidies have all been further funded by the federal government. So anybody with a subsidy will be sent to their subsidizing agent to increase their subsidy amount by the percentage of income lost that they've had. Did that answer the question?
I can shed a little bit more on the depth of this. My wife volunteers at the co-op, the food co-op. I'm sorry, the food bank. And yesterday there were 6 times as many people as are normal on a Thursday. They served 141 families, no, 114 families, which covered about 341 individuals yesterday morning at the Great Barrington Food Bank. Not everybody lives in Great Barrington, but the majority is from this area.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's one of the advantages to doing this program through Construct is that our staff is really good at knowing all of the resources that are available, and they'll be helping people with their budgets. And remember that at this time, people coming for help are probably coming for help because they're really scared. And so she's really good at working with people, calming them down, figuring out where their shortfall is, and then other ways that they can apply it besides not paying their rent. So, and then we also administer several different funds for assistance in a lot of different ways. So this would be the last money that we would use after referring people to the other programs, and then the other forms of assistance that we have, and then whatever comes through from the federal and state governments. Also, these payments would be made to landlords, and so the tenant, when they come to apply, would notify us who their landlord is, and then we communicate with the landlord to verify the need, and also to check and see if they got mortgage forbearance or some other program that paid their expenses, and whether they need it, how much of it they need, and how much of it the tenant is responsible for.
June, I know your proposal suggests that the grants will be limited to $1,000 per month or 70% of the household monthly income. But what do you think the average grant might be? I'm sure it won't be $1,000.
I'm sure it won't be $1,000.
But
so
what will it be?
I'm thinking between $300 and $500, and that's a guess. We did a quick poll among all of our units to see how many people out of our 88 units were laid off or lost money and wouldn't be able to pay their rent. And we only have 4 this month. So
Wow.
we are anticipating that, as you say, there are so many sources right now that we'll be able to cover it in much smaller increments. And that way it'll last longer. So that is one thing that we also did with Lennox, and it's a great idea that you have, is we set up for a review with Lennox in 60 days. So we would start May 1st, and then we would send them a report at the end of June, so we could determine whether we needed to go forward and also how many people used it. The interesting thing with this program, as opposed to the programs that we normally use, is that for the first time, we'll be getting requests from people above 60% AMI. So we'll be talking to people between 60 and 100% of AMI. And not to put too fine a point on it, but that's really to the advantage of the Affordable Housing Trust. You're going to have your name out there with a larger population of people, and those people are going to find out what it's like to seek help in an emergency. And I think it'll be really comforting for them to know that their town's there for them.
Jane, have you applied for any money under the CARES Act?
Yes, everything we're eligible for. We've applied for everything everywhere that we're eligible for.
It's what we've been doing all week.
Yeah, between putting out fires. So I think one of the things we're hoping is that towns that have the ability to do this will, like Lennox, like Great Barrington. We're starting to have conversations with Stockbridge and Lee. We're not sure how they would pull it off because they don't have affordable housing trusts. But if those 4 more substantial towns could provide some support, it's going to stretch the other dollars for folks in the hill towns and folks elsewhere in the South Berkshires, that for towns that just don't have the infrastructure to invest in their community in this way. So we really hope that Lennox and Great Barrington can take the lead on this.
Jonathan, what do you think the reserve, what would you like to see the reserve for the pre-development costs?
I mean, I don't have a number in my head. It just seems like we should have something in there.
Yes.
So I have a question about that. In my experience, when we do development, we have not asked the town to do engineering studies or any of the things that you're talking about. In general, you know, you're talking about the lot on 41, and you're talking about buying it and then making it part of the RFP, I think, as a grant.
Yeah.
And then there's the Mass Works that will do some of the infrastructure. And then so most of the time when a developer puts in a proposal, they put in the proposal that they're going to be applying for grants to do, you know, the engineering studies, the site plan, the architectural studies, things like that. I'm not sure why you are expecting to have to pay for those.
Well, for instance, fortunately, we had $10,000 or whatever it was to pay you to do a feasibility study. And that
totally worth it.
And that didn't come out of you know, developer funds. That came out of our funds. And I just don't know. I don't have any experience with this. I don't know what other sorts of things like that might happen coming down the line.
Yeah, my guess is if we have spent all this money on rental assistance during this crisis, that the CPC would be inclined to replace that for us at the next go round, at the next round.
I
That's
agree.
probably true, but you're at least a year away.
Well, so is any of the development on this project if we ever have a town meeting. I mean, we're at least a year away on doing anything really. So I'm not overly concerned about that.
Can we get back to the grant for 1 minute? So the proposal's written for up to $1,000. You know, I'm not involved in the rental community in Great Barrington at all. I have no idea what rents cost, but $1,000 seems like quite a bit money. Could we lower that maximum and still achieve 90% of our goals?
So again, you could look on the Data Town and you can get an answer to those questions. 20% of your renter households in Great Barrington are over 100% AMI. And so, and there's two, this isn't super helpful, but there's two median chunks for rent payments. One is 500 to 1,000. That's the largest median amount of rent, and then 1,000 to 1,500. So that's why I used 1,000 as a starting point, as a cap, because that the rents fall right around there. I have to admit, we rarely work with market rate tenants. We generally work with families in subsidized units or in affordable units. So the $1,000 was a guess, but it was an educated guess based on rents in Great Barrington.
I mean, obviously, we're trying to service as many people for as many months possible. But if we start paying out in larger chunks, you know, there's less people we can serve.
Absolutely, Fred, and I totally agree. And if you can understand, you know, we're basing a proposal on something no one has ever done before. And this is going to be new and different. So, but we're going to apply our regular protocol to it, which is we start from where our applicant is coming from. And we first we investigate the need. So we talk to the landlords, we communicate with the landlords. If the landlord has mortgage forbearance, we're going to ask them for some time because there's basically a moratorium on evictions. The housing court is not meeting. And so they're not going to be able to collect this rent any other way. On the other hand, we don't want these tenants to be incurring huge amounts of debt while they're out of a job. Because, well, let me finish. That this is, we're talking about safety too. If someone feels like they have to go out and go to work because they have to pay that rent because the landlord wants it, you're all in danger. It's putting all of us in danger. So housing is healthcare. We want to keep people home. So that's an important part of this that we've never had to deal with before. So we start off with that, addressing the need, and we talk to the landlords about whether or not we can do a payment plan. So if we can put off some of this payment, if they owe $1,000 and they can pay $800, and we say, well, if we can pay $100 this month, would you hold off on that other $100 or something like that? So it's all negotiation, and we don't have a firm answer as to which ones are going to work and which ones aren't. Some of the landlords in this town are really big and they have a lot of units and they have room to move. Other landlords are mom and pop. They're really depending on that rental income and they're going to need more help. And that is going to keep your Great Barrington economy moving if we can help those people. Then second step, we refer them to everything else in our arsenal. We look to them to find fuel assistance and food stamps and anything else we've got. We can refer them and we can help them access those things.
Well, I wanted to ask about the clause there where you talk about asking the landlords to negotiate a lower rent. And I was simply thinking about this and thinking, if we've got it written in stone that we'll go up to $1,000, is there not an incentive for a landlord to charge that $1,000? If however, if we wrote it for $750, $800, does that provide an incentive for negotiation?
We don't leave it that. We don't call the landlord and say, hey, we have $1,000. How much of it do you want?
Right.
So we go from the other direction. How much is due? And then we try to negotiate them down. And we try Give
And
them as little as possible.
Yeah, that $1,000 cap is really for you to see. I don't think we are compelled in any reason to publish that
No.
in our rental assistance publicity. The other thing, Fred, if we were still at 60% of area median income and below, I totally think the $1,000 cap is too high. There's a lot of really expensive rents in Great Barrington, and so it doesn't make sense to fill the hole only a quarter of the way. We really like to make sure that the assists that we do are really going to help people climb out of that hole.
And the $1,000 is not far off, I don't think. That's half of my rent, and I know plenty of people my age that pay at least $900 of rent in a month. So I don't think that number is off.
And we also know most people who are renting in the Berkshires who are at median income are paying 54% of their income on transportation and housing. So that 35% will really help, and it may actually help them meet their needs more effectively. So we know that folks most renters are overburdened already.
I have a sort of technical question about this. The CPA money is technically only to be used for people in Great Barrington, but
Right.
the Fair Housing Act sort of contradicts that, saying you really can't make just Great Barrington residents available. Is there a resolution to that?
I think because we have other funds that we can meet the other folks that apply. I think we're okay, but that would be an interesting thing to get some guidance on.
Okay.
We can look at MHP and see if there's anything there. We definitely intend for this to be for Great Barrington, folks who have tenancy in Great Barrington, as well as the Lennox funds for Lennox residents.
There are lots of other rental assistance funds funded with CPA, so I'm not really concerned about that, but we can check it out.
Okay.
June, how many requests have you gotten so far for rental help?
Jane, have you checked in with Courtney?
No, I know that I'm signing 2 or 3 checks a week, and usually it's 2 or 3 a month. Again, I don't think we're going to see the real top of the bubble, if that's even a thing, until May. I'm really concerned about May, June, and July, and after that, I have no idea.
I'm more concerned about June because we will be taking into account the federal payments, also payroll protection. So we're going to go through the same protocol that we go through now when we're qualifying someone for affordable housing. So we'll be looking at any source of income that they have and comparing it to their rent and saying, well, if their income's been cut, 80% and they only have 30% of it to pay toward rent, then that's when we're going to try to fill the gap. But we're going to be looking at every source of income that they have first.
The ones that have come in so far, have they indicated how much they'd like?
You're on mute.
Excuse me?
Jane, muted
Sorry, I
yourself.
put myself on mute and started talking, which is not the way to do it. June and I are not the ones that administer this, and we are so busy with many other things that I don't have that detail. I could certainly get it.
But
Traditionally, Construct has given up to $300, so that's what people tend to think they're going to get. And then we try to make it fit with RAFT and other funds that they can get.
And is that only for your tenants, or is that?
No, we rarely help our own tenants, in fact.
Okay.
I think whatever it is, it's just going to get worse as this thing goes on. More and more people get laid off.
Yeah.
They go through their savings. So,
I agree.
You've heard my issues. I do think it's a good program. I think it's the right thing to do. I am concerned about spending all our money, but I think that this is probably a very good use for it. We've been meeting for almost 3 years now, and really haven't serviced a lot of people. And I think if we can do this, our reach is going to be much greater than it ever has been with our current programs.
Yeah, I agree.
I would like to have a check-in, say the end of June, something like that, to see if we're going forward with it.
I agree.
Unless anybody has any other issues, I would say let's just vote on the proposal as written for $35,000.
Do I have a
Let
second?
me just ask this before we do vote. So we will now, instead of thinking we'll have 4,000 something, we'll add another 10 to that. So we'll have $15,000 left. Is that correct?
No, there's
No,
about,
actually, no, that's not true. That's
Well, how
not
much
true.
do we-
Actually, we only have 40 now, right? We
no,
just have
about
39
40.
right now.
We have 39.5 in that
Right.
fund. We also have still in our money that was given to us by the town, which initially was $15,000. Of that, we paid Construct to do the feasibility study. We have left in there about $4,500. So altogether, we have about $9,000 left if we do this program. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, no, I would be in favor of giving them the whole amount.
Yeah. So do I have a second on Fred's motion?
I'll
I
second.
second.
I said,
So I would like to clarify though, because I'm only going from what was sent, that the solution, not the budget, but the solution refers to 45,000. So I think we need to clarify that.
What?
The first page of the proposal for services refers to the Great Barrington Affordable Housing Trust will grant $45,000 to Construct.
Right, but Fred's motion said 35.
Yeah.
I just want to make,
Jane can send a new front page.
Okay.
yeah, I think, I just want to clarify that we're all dealing off the same page.
And I hope that I hope we don't have to spend it. I hope this thing gets done. I hope that there's a lot of federal money. I hope that people get back to work. And I hope that, we don't encumber money ahead of the need. In other words, when we're meeting in June, I don't want to hear things that we've committed to August payments already or something, I mean, if we can do this on a month-by-month basis, I would be much happier about that.
So ideally, as each person comes to us, we'll try to push them off. If they can pay May, and we push them off till June and tell them to come back. And then if we've paid June, we'll tell them that we're not going to serve them first next time. We're going to serve other applicants, so they should be looking for other ways to pay their July rent. Hopefully it doesn't go that way.
I think May, June, and July, at least May and June, will be the worst, because that is the time frame that people are being asked to stay home the most. And if our federal government can get it together with some funds, I think that would help. But there's now a lot.
we'll be ready by April 12th. Are you kidding me?
There's a lot of weird stuff happening with the federal money. Just from my own personal experience doing it for work and stuff. So if there's delays in that funding for housing, paycheck protection program, checks to residences, et cetera, that might set people back further. But I think the worst of it will be May and June for rent.
So if we figure that this is going to go for 3 months and we've got a $4,000 administrative overhead, so roughly, according to Jane's proposal, 31,000. If we can try to husband that to no more than 10,000 per month, I think, stretching it out longer, even if we don't service as gives as much grants per person, I think we have to plan for the long run.
Yeah, and I also think we can rely on Jane and June to do that anyway.
Mhm.
Seriously, I don't know if we have to put a limit on them. I mean, if they,
Oh, I don't mean a limit, but I think Larissa's exactly right, that it's going to be through July.
I think it's
And
gonna
any
be-
plan that we talk about, if it doesn't go more than a couple of months is not sufficient.
but
Yeah, we are
Larissa's,
nothing if not frugal.
yeah, they are very frugal. And Larissa's right. I'm working with a couple of groups and helping them get money under the CARES Act. And believe me, it is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. Don't read the bill. If you don't
Whatever
have
you do,
to,
don't read the bill.
I-
I'm on the payroll
protection.
payroll protection program, where basically they're giving money away.
Yeah.
It's just, they just changed the rules again, and one of the groups I'm with put their application in today. But the rules have changed 3 times in the last 3 days.
Yeah,
If I may add,
400 million of that money was gone by 9 a.m. this morning. So
Yep.
crazy.
And the banks are having a lot of trouble figuring out what to do, particularly at the interest rates that they're going to be getting.
Right.
Yeah, it's a mess.
It's
So
a-
not to be a
If I may
stickler about
ask,
process, but isn't there a motion on the table?
Yes, there is a
No,
motion on
Garfield
the
There is a
has a
motion and a second.
I do have a question. Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Garfield.
Yes, I had a question. I was just concerned, and correct me if I'm wrong, I may not even have the correct letters, but is it possible for us, because I hear the CPC is going to look at us favorably. If we do this, can we approach them now? Can we find out what's going to happen? Do they know what we're going to do? Can we share this? Can we get a response? Can we find out what's going to look like? We're all thinking it's going to happen, but do we know if it really is? And can we check to see it?
Garfield, we, as I said, we have checked. I mean, I've talked to Tom Revolt and personally about it. What I described is seeing if we could get the use of some of the other money, and he was very much in favor, but he just came back 2 days later and said we need we're going to have a town meeting to approve that. And I was trying to figure out a way around the town meeting, but Chris put a stop to me on that one. So
There's no guarantee.
there isn't any guarantee of anything.
They're not going to have a meeting anytime soon to make a decision about this. That seems unlikely.
And even if they did, Bill, when is the next town meeting?
Right.
Yeah.
We don't know.
And who's going to go to it?
And the warrant's already closed.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that I'm not concerned. I know there's a possibility and there's no guarantee that we can be given additional funds by them, but I do think this helps us get the word out about the housing trust. I think that it looks favorably for us to return to them and ask for money. We're a community that helps each other, and I think this is a really good opportunity for the trust to do that. This is super unprecedented, all of this. So I don't think that I am not overly concerned with getting a no from the CPC in the future.
How will this affect the Alden property going forward with us?
I don't think it will have much of an effect at this point.
Yeah, we're not going to get a vote on that from town meeting until at least after July. Is there any discussion about the town meeting being rescheduled, or they have no idea yet?
It's going to be rescheduled, but we don't know when.
Right. So it won't be rescheduled till at least likely until after July or August. So yeah, I don't.
So time is critical here.
Yeah. I second the motion.
Okay.
Now you have 2 seconds of the motion and they get their 35,000. So let's take a vote.
Okay, it has to be a roll call vote, so I'll just go by order of how you appear on my screen. So
Okay.
Fred, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jonathan,
Aye.
Larissa,
Aye.
and John.
Aye.
Aye for me, so it's unanimous.
You
Garfield.
got me, Bill.
Garfield.
Bill,
Sorry, I didn't see your picture.
Garfield.
That was the thing. Garfield.
just for that, no, aye.
Okay.
With
Thank you very
reservations.
much, and great conversation. I really appreciate your diligence on this. I assume we'll work out the reimbursement process with you, Chris?
Yes.
Thanks for your confidence in Construct.
Yeah, we really
We'll
appreciate
we'll
it.
take good care of your money.
Okay.
Thank you for what you
Okay.
guys are doing for people.
All right.
And thank you. I
right.
really do hope that this, what you're doing and what Lennox is doing will be a model for others.
We like what you're doing. I like what you're doing.
All right. All right, everybody stay safe.
Okay.
Yes,
Um,
they say.
Sign off.
Now,
All right,
we still have to have citizen speak time and media time. So
but you're done with us, right?
we're done with Construct for the moment. Yes.
Thank you.
for coming.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey, Bill,
Yes.
Shep here. Who was the second on that motion?
Well,
I was and Larissa.
Larissa, wasn't
Three
it?
of them.
Marissa was one of them.
yeah,
And I was one of them.
we had 2 seconds on that.
We had
Larissa
2
and
seconds
John?
on that.
Yes.
Yeah, John.
Yes,
and
Larissa and John.
You had 2 seconds.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so is there anyone for citizen speak? I don't hear anything. Any media people?
Yeah. Can you
Hi.
hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Oh, good, because I was trying to ask questions when the meeting began.
Oh,
Oh, I couldn't hear you. Yeah.
couldn't hear you then.
Now, I don't know why. Nothing has changed. Anyway,
Anyway.
Bill, you send me the MOU with Construct.
Say what?
And I'm sending you an email. It's
Oh.
easier.
Okay.
Obviously, you can't hear me. Bye.
Eileen is asking you to send the MOU with Construct.
Oh,
to
yeah.
her.
Thank you.
Yes, we can do
Thanks,
that.
Fred.
I'll send the updated version when I get it from Jane.
Excellent.
Copy Shep Evans also.
Okay. Anything else? Media time?
Yeah, I also would like a list of who was present by telephone, even if not a member.
They're not identified. They're call-in user 1 and someone named Bob and the Berkshire record. That was it. And you.
All-in
Okay.
user 1 is Garfield.
Ah. So that was it, really.
And there's Evan from the Berkshire Record.
Yeah. And
Yep.
someone named Bob who has been very quiet.
Bob.
It was a small meeting.
Eileen, do you have the list?
I made one.
It's more that fake news.
Yeah.
Right.
It's Bill Cook, Fred Clark, Jonathan Hankin, Larissa Yapel, John Katz, Shep Evans, Chris Rembold, Evan from the Berkshire Record, Bob, and Garfield, and yourself.
And June and Jane.
And June and Jane. Yes, thank you.
When they were here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I guess that's it then. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Bye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming.